I'm Nellie Eden. I am co-founder of creative agency Babyface alongside Claire Berman, and I'm also a freelance fashion journalist. And today I'm talking about this epic piece from Molly Goddard's Spring/Summer 18 collection. I think what you get with a Molly Goddard piece is like, there's nothing that looks like Molly Goddard. It's not derivative like so much of fashion is now. And I think when Molly arrived in 2014, and the first collection that she did was in this chapel in Marylebone, and it was like all her mates just dressed up in all her tulle pieces. And then like the next thing she's having to, kind of supply huge orders from IT in Hong Kong. And she just she was managing to do that from her mum's house in West London. And when I think of Molly, I think of it as being a family brand. She employs her friends. She works so closely with her sister Alice and her mum. And I think that comes through so clearly in the clothing. And then for Spring/Summer 18, it was like, is she going to do all tulle again? Is it going to be all these kind of big dresses? And, yes and no. And I chose this piece because actually this does have tulle underneath. You can lift it up and you can see here. And I think it's like the tulle kind of stands away from your body. It's not actually rubbing up against you, but it gives you this like kind of odd shape. And that's obviously a really integral part of like the Molly Goddard look, is this anti-bodycon. It's like awkward, it's about volume, it's about mismatch. And this dress is in fact entirely asymmetrical. And I don't think you got that when you were on the catwalk. But like the cut across the waist here is completely asymmetrical. The tulle is cut asymmetrically. And if you turn around for me, thank you. It's like the way that it hangs. You would have to kind of look at it up close to realize that it's cutting away at all these angles. But she's really playful with that. And people often talk a lot about how her dresses, refer to them in the kind of context of ballerinas and princesses. And I think that's like quite a pedestrian way to digest Molly. Actually, like when I look at this stuff, I think it's like kind of punk. I think it's pushing against anything form-fitting and sexy. It's that kind of like ugly, pretty thing that like fashion designers spend their whole careers trying to carve out, and it just like comes to Molly. And like when I was reading lots of the show reviews, because most of the clothing, this piece especially, was styled with big, heavy boots. Alice had done all the styling, and she'd found all the boots from kind of like Salvation shops, and also bought them from the National Theatre. So it's like these really clumpy, heavy boots with these really kind of hyper-feminine dresses. And it just felt so odd. And I think that's what it is. I think that's what Molly does, is like she obviously has this language that just her and Alice speak. And it's like kind of interesting watching journalists try and pull it apart and be like, well, is this English eccentricity, or is this your West London, childhood? And I think actually what it is a manifestation of the probably somewhat obtuse to everybody exterior to it, but very nuanced like language that Alice and Molly have. It's like just what they see, it's just what they like, and they go with it. For this collection especially, like the first few words that she started out with were something like hippie, bohemian business lady or something. Maybe not the word bohemian, don't quote me on that, but like hippie business lady. And I think that you can see this in that, like, the dress is so beautiful, like it's almost bridal, and obviously, it's something that you would you'd normally associate with kind of like it's a ball gown, it's a baby doll dress, it's a dress to wear to a party. Everybody always talks so much about how she's kind of historical. It's puritanical in like the colouring and the neckline and all of that. But it just feels really modern, it feels really fresh. I was like, so amazing that she opened the show with a completely plain white dress. And how amazing that plain white dress could have such a visual impact. And you've got Edie like smoking her e-cigarette and drinking her champagne and like sort of skipping down the runway. And like, I think everybody wants to be that girl. I think that it's the beauty of Molly Goddard is like, it's not one girl, like you can, I'm not sure about this particular piece, but you can throw most of her dresses in the wash. It's like one size fits all. It's actually really practical. They're actually not that stuffy. You can sit in them, you can move in them. They're really, really fun to dance in. She made one of my best friend's wedding dress, and halfway through the wedding, my friend just put like Reebok Classics on, and we were like all dancing all the way night through it. And it was, it was comfortable. It's like made for that. It's actually made for living. And so much fashion now isn't. Even if it's like a logo T-shirt, because it's like 500 quid, you'd probably like have to, I don't know, like fucking dry clean it or something. It's not actually practical, So I think Molly's, the complexity and the craft, we love to talk about the craft that Molly puts in because it's special, but actually it belies like how easy the clothes are to wear and how little maintenance they take to maintain and enjoy. I shouldn't refer to it in the narcotics, like in the scope of narcotics, but the previous collection was like, fashion sort of cokey girl, and this is like sort of weed smoking, hippie, like allotment living person who might then like turn up at the pub, or I think on the press release it was about, turning up at an art gallery. But she just does Molly, I think. That's the beauty of it. And she does it with a sense of humor, and like the fashion industry is so guilty of being incredibly earnest. And it's something that she just ignores, even though she has those kind of very prestigious stockists, your DSMs and your ITs and whatever. This particular dress is called the Dorcas dress, if I'm not mistaken, because the pattern cutter named it after his friend, and everybody that works in the studio is invited to name pieces that they're working on after their friends. And that's so incredibly, that's part of what attracts me to Molly. It's not like a Birkin, it's like a Catherine or a Lynette or whatever. Like you can be a Molly girl if you want to be a Molly girl, just might have to save a bit for it. I think that actually Molly's designs are for, it sounds really corny, but for real women and for real girls, and I would, love to be able to own one day. So that's why I chose this very angelic but slightly naughty dress from Molly's SS 18.